Okay, today's episode number 427 is going to be brought to you by Surthrival, and they have some of the best immune system products and foods on the market today. You're not going to find anywhere that beats these products. They have colostrum, which is one of my favorite foods. It's got a full array of fatty acids and carbohydrates and proteins, and it's great for sealing the digestive tract and increasing your digestion. And it's great for increasing immunity. Colostrum is just such a great food. Nature's first food. They also have pine pollen, schizandra berry, and these are super high quality dual extraction herbs and immortal elk velvet antler for your hormones, and great stuff over at Surthrival. So if you want to grab those, you can go on our show page here. And we're also brought to you by Barf World Pet Food. If you guys have pets, particularly dogs, you're going to want to try to get some of this Barf World. It's biologically appropriate raw food diet. That's what BARF stands for. And they have chicken, beef, lamb. They have combo recipes filled with all kinds of great stuff in there. Let's see. Some of these ingredients are finely ground bone, chicken liver. So they got the organs, they got the bones to make a good acid-alkaline balance. Flaxseed, cayenne pepper, garlic, zinc, cod liver oil. All these ingredients, super high quality for your dog. Raw dog food, and your dog will absolutely love it. Maggie loves it. She's been on it for about a year now, just absolutely loves it and thrives on this stuff. So if you want either of these products, Surthrival and or Barf World, go to our show page here, which is extremehealthradio.com/427, or they're in our store as well. Alrighty, boys and girls, we are ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls.
Like I'm in a really bad Mr. Rogers episode.
I don't know where that came from. It just came out of me just like that.
I loved it. Roll with it. It's natural.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls.
I actually really liked that. That was funny.
Well, thank you.
Nice touch.
Nice touch. Now we here we are on another episode of Extreme Health Radio, episode 427, I believe.
Gee.
We've done the last 3 shows. Counting this one will be all Free for All Friday shows.
I wonder if people are sick of us yet.
We'll find out. No, the reason why that is because we are currently in the process of moving to a new studio.
Almost moved.
So it's hard to schedule guests to come to the new studio when we don't have a studio.
We don't have our equipment all set up.
Yes.
However, I think by the end of this week we'll be right as rain.
Yes, that's true. Actually, maybe after today.
We're kind of living with maybe after today. We're living with our feet in two worlds. It's kind of interesting phase right now, isn't it?
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
For those that aren't familiar, our Free for All Friday shows are just a little bit different than our other shows.
Yes, sir.
Slightly, right? I'd say a big difference. Well, I think one of the main differences is that we don't necessarily always talk about health, although the general theme is about health, I'd say. Wouldn't you say?
Well, I think
Friday shows.
Yeah, I think when you have whole body living, it's health and spirituality and just life. That's what health is, and that's why we do what we do, is to bring more life. So, sure, I'd say that involves health for sure. Yeah, health is kind of a broad term, but I think you can find most places, and especially with our interview shows, you can find answers to health problems and protocols and things, and do this for that and take this for that. But on our Friday shows, we tend to get a little philosophical, a little religious, a little spiritual. Let our freak flag fly.
Yeah.
Get our funk on.
That would be a nice name for a podcast.
That's
Freak Flag.
Freak Flag Podcast.
Yeah, that's kind of nice.
Do I see something in your future?
I don't know.
I'm not claiming it. You can claim it.
We'll see. We'll see.
Who are you calling a freak?
Yeah, so our Friday show is a little bit different. It's a chance for you guys to send in your questions, and we'll answer a couple questions. We'll kind of talk about what's going on in our lives. We've got a lot to get to today. Got some listener questions, as well as some articles I want to talk about, some books we're reading, and stuff we're going through that we want to offer some insight on. And that's about it, right?
It's get this show on the road.
The show on the road.
It's packed full of sugary goodness.
Sugary goodness. So tell me about, Kate, your little Athena. You just went and bought a little...
Well, I'm confused as to who she is. I found a statue.
Uh-huh.
What was that, 2 weeks ago? Maybe we were looking for furniture for the office, for our new studio, and we were at the thrift shop a couple blocks over, and at that time, I came across this statue. It's probably, like a foot tall? Full bronze. It's, like, super heavy.
Yeah.
And it's of what looks like... I couldn't tell it was a Greek goddess until someone told me today when I was checking out with her, when I bought her, and they said, "Oh, that's the Greek goddess Athena."
No, they said
Minerva.
Actually Minerva.
And she said, but AKA Athena. She said it's pretty much the same thing. It's a different name.
Uh-huh.
But it's so cool. What drew me to her is she's standing with a very beautiful robe on and to the ground. It's very elegant.
Uh-huh.
But she's standing with her feet. I didn't notice this part till today. What drew me to her was a sword. She's carrying the sword. She has like a sword by her side, stabbed into the ground.
Is it into the snake?
No, it's not into the snake.
Okay.
Just by her side, I think reaching the ground, and then she has a blindfold on, which I just think is super cool.
Okay.
So she's blindfolded, has a sword in her hand, and then she's stepping on the snake. She has her foot on the snake, like, I got this poisonous thing and I'm stepping on it and it's not going to get me. So I just felt like the power of that statue. I didn't even know what it meant, but I'm getting a lot of symbolic meaning from it, and I'm stoked. So I brought her home, and I worked a deal at the thrift shop with the guy because they wanted way too much for that statue.
You're like
I wasn't prepared.
Little Miss Hagler.
To spend $40 for a statue you don't really need. But yeah, I asked them. I wanted to support the local, thrift shop guys and what they have going on with their ministry and stuff. But they worked a deal, and it was too good to pass up. I went back, and it was already marked down to $30.
Nice.
And then I haggled. So that was kind of cool. And so I put her on my altar of things that mean things to me. And I'm going to be journaling about her in the morning. And I feel like she's actually going to be the theme and travel with me on all my retreats.
Really?
It's like a woman warrior type spirit. But you actually looked at her, and you thought that she reminded you of something when you were listening to Creditors in Commerce, which you love.
That's true.
So we looked her up, and what did they call her?
The Justice Athena. It was like apparently
the blind lady Justice.
Yeah, that's right.
So Well, I think what my girl's missing is the scale she's holding. So we looked her up. She looks very similar to all the Athena and Minerva pictures we found, but that goddess wasn't blindfolded.
Uh-huh.
This lady's blindfolded. And so we looked up blindfolded, goddess wearing blindfold, and you came across one called, is it called the
Well, it says here since this 15th century, the Lady Justice has often been depicted wearing a blindfold. The blindfold represents objectivity, and that justice is or should be meted out objectively without fear or favor, regardless of money, wealth, power, or identity. Blind justice and impartiality. But when they're talking about it in Creditors in Commerce, it had some deeper meaning, and it was, again, with everything else in our culture, just the opposite of what the actual meaning and most people think this means.
Right.
And it was really good, because when I looked at it and I saw the blindfold, it brought back, I wish I could find, what we'll do? We'll say a little prayer, because didn't you say a prayer on the way to the place that if it would be,
I said 2 prayers today. Walking down to do laundry where I needed another, I was 1 quarter short. And I said, God, all I need is a quarter. Reached into my bag where there should not be a quarter, that I'd already looked all these other places, and a quarter pops out, right?
Of course.
So I was like, oh, this is going good. And then on the way up to the thrift shop, I was just saying a little prayer. I'm like, if I'm supposed to have that statue, you know that I don't want to be bad with money and spend needlessly. And I really connect with it, though. And it's something that resonates with my spirit. Let it be on sale. When do they mark things down at the thrift shop?
I know. That's
so weird. Bizarre. Yeah, it had a tag on it.
So I think what I'll do is I'll say a little prayer. And if it's meant to be, I will look through the archives in Creditors in Commerce and try to find, I'll randomly go through and see if I can find, I have no idea. They have different lectures they've done. There's probably over 100 different lectures, and each of them, are a couple hours long. And
how do people get a hold of it?
Just if you go to creditorsincommerce.com, there's an audio section. It's all free.
Is it free?
Yeah, it's all free. But I'll just go on there and see if I can find it.
Creditors in Commerce?
Yeah.
Not and.
In Commerce.
Got it.
But as with anything, the explanation they gave to that was really the opposite of what most people think Lady Justice means. But I think that's pretty cool. You're going to put it up in your little altar?
She's there right now. She's sitting in my room on top of my altar. I feel like, though, like anything with symbolism, it can mean whatever it is you see meaning in. Mm-hmm. So to me, she's carrying a sword. She's she's victorious over the enemy, something that could harm her.
The snake.
She's trusting the snake. She's trusting blindly that she's going to be led in the direction of following her intuition. And it's a whole trust thing. It's really cool.
And what's the deal with I want to talk about symbols in a second, because I was reading something really great today about that.
I'd love to hear.
But what's the deal with the owl, too? Because that's become your new totem animal.
Apparently, the owl is my totem animal. Yeah. I'm reading an awesome book. I think I mentioned it in the last free for all, called Kindling the Native Spirit.
Have you put that on our Instagram yet?
Yeah.
Oh, you have?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you want to keep up to date with the books we're reading, follow us on Instagram. We'll put them all in there.
We post most of them, but
yeah,
this one's really good. But she was talking about how if you don't know what your totem animal is, start asking for signs and just be open to receiving that animal, like exposing itself to you. In a non-sexual way. Didn't sound good.
It's like an owl with
like a trench coat. Yeah, he's flashing me. But no, these owls in our neighborhood. I mean, we've lived here for 6 years. I've never experienced owls cooing and making all this noise like they have been lately.
Yeah, I never hear them until
wild. Recently.
But now you're making me hear them. Now I'm getting all just like you're
getting owled up.
Yeah, you're exposing me to all your weird stuff.
It's pretty weird. So yeah, no, the owl seems to be my spirit animal, which is really cool when you look up what it means. It's really meaningful to me and where I'm at right now. It stands for a lot of like transition and change and life and stuff. But it was funny when I brought this statue in right now before we did this show, you looked up, Athena Minerva, and along with her is the symbol of the owl, which is really interesting.
The symbol for Athena, or that goes along with Athena, is the owl, which is so bizarre.
So I can make her whoever I want. I'm not going to call her Athena, and I'm not going to call her Lady Justice. I'm going to make up a name for her.
You should.
I will.
It was interesting what you said about symbols a second ago. I'm reading that book. I think I read a little bit of it to you today, The Fifth Agreement. I need to put that on our Instagram too.
Good stuff.
In case you're interested in reading it. But he was talking all about symbols. And it was so interesting.
What did he say?
Don Miguel Ruiz is such a bizarre writer because he's so good at, there's no real fluff, but the concepts are really simple. Like his sentence structure and the way he writes is super simple. It's very opposite of like the Seed of the Soul by Gary Zukav. Where if you know those books where if you read for you read a page and your mind kind of wanders a little bit, you get to the end of the page and you're
what did I just read?
Yeah, what I read. But Don Miguel Ruiz is really simple. His books are super simple, but super deep and profound. And so he was talking about symbols, and he gave this example of basically the idea is that we live in this sort of weird virtual reality. It's a dream that we all live in. And he gave the example of Santa Claus. And he was like, okay, so the belief in Santa Claus isn't bad, but what happens is that Santa becomes a symbol, and then we put all of our power into these symbols. And so Santa Claus could represent lots of different symbols you have in your life, like the belief that other people should be nice to me if I'm nice to them. All these agreements that we have with ourselves.
Right.
And
like I wouldn't treat somebody like that.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah,
I don't deserve to be treated like that back.
Yeah, I don't deserve to be treated. Mm-hmm. That's a good one. And he was talking about the belief in Santa Claus, and he gives this example of a little kid whose parents are poor, but he's been a really good boy. And the song "Santa's Naughty or Nice" or whatever.
Right, watching. Right.
Yeah, be a good boy and stuff. And so he wants a bike for Christmas, and his next door neighbor is a really bad boy, and his parents aren't poor, but when Christmas Day comes, he doesn't get a bike. And the
poor kid doesn't, you mean?
The poor kid does not, even though he was a good boy. And then the bad kid gets a bike, even though he's really bad. And so he goes through this example scenario of what the kid would be feeling, like anger, resentment, questioning your beliefs, anger towards your parents for not making Santa give you a bike, all this stuff. Why did the bad guy get a bike and not me? And all the stress and anxiety goes into his reactions. Meanwhile, he didn't realize that his belief got put onto a symbol, and the symbol was incorrect. And so we do that with all of the stuff in our lives. We put our power of belief and faith into the symbols instead of believing what's actually true and questioning, just the main parts of our life instead of believing in these symbols. And it was
so what's a good example of that? Like modern day, say somebody is really connected with the symbol of the cross. Christianity, right. Catholicism, wears a cross around their neck. How would that... is it saying that... Because I connect really strongly with symbols, so it's not saying that symbols are going to let you down necessarily. That's not the thing. It's that we equate symbols with absolutes, maybe, and then when those absolutes don't happen, we get disappointed, and then we blame the symbol or the structure of...
Okay, here's a good one. Maybe not necessarily the symbol, but the label, which is also a symbol, meaning the label of a Christian, or a label, like, people will say this all the time. Oh, this mechanic, he's a Christian, so he'll be
there
nice,
you go.
Right?
Okay.
And so
he won't cheat me.
He won't cheat me, and that's another symbol too, because the label Santa Claus is just a label for a mythical character. But with a Christian, oh, this mechanic or this plumber, he's Christian, and then
there's a fish on the truck, or they're in the in the advertisement in the phone book.
Yeah. So
you think you're safe with someone,
right? So you have these beliefs and these ideas, but it's not the idea. It's like, the idea is what's causing you harm, because you have to question whether or not that's true. Just because someone has a fish on their business card doesn't necessarily mean anything. It's just the lines, and so you could come up with a bunch of different symbols and things and examples in our life of what we put our faith into these symbols, and then the symbols disappoint us, and then we create drama because we have these like anger issues with other people who don't live up to what we think that symbol is. And he may have one version of how that symbol should play out in his life, and we have a different version. So some people could say, oh, I'm a Christian, but I cheat people. But we don't have that belief. So when he does that to us, it screws us all up.
That makes sense.
And so it creates all this conflict, when in reality, if we dealt with each other with honor and respect and without expectation, all of that drama goes away.
Wow.
And it's really interesting.
Wow. He is deep.
So I think it's cool
Simple
to use
truths, but deep.
Symbols in a way that's going to serve you, but not putting your faith in symbols. I think that's kind of what he's saying.
Do you put your faith in any symbols?
Oh, totally.
Like which ones? Can you think of?
Oh my gosh. Everything, whatever. I think we can just all look at like what frustrates us. Let me think about it. What do I put my faith in? Well, I often think, you and I talk about this all the time, that people who own dogs should act a certain way. And not let their dog run up on us or run up on, our little dog. And when they don't act like that, it like my whole
world
belief in my own thing gets shattered. Yeah.
Yeah. Very true.
But I think with this thing, you can use symbols in a way, because this little statue is not going to disappoint you. So she could represent things.
Well, she takes her sword and kills me while I'm sleeping.
Yeah, totally.
She comes to life, and
like Toy Story.
Yeah, Toy Story, exactly. No, I feel like that's true though. There's a time, like, it's funny though. I can make it because I think ritual is really important, and symbolism is huge in my life.
How do you mean rituals?
Well, rituals like she's adding so much to my little altar area that I feel like is really a beautiful thing, right? So she'll stand, like a ritual might be taking her on my retreats and setting her up in a place of honor and having her kind of be the theme of my retreat, as far as like this warrior heart kind of a reminder, Right. So that's cool with ritual and symbol and what she stands for. And I've made her into a symbol and a ritual of what I want, right? And that won't disappoint me, right? Because
it's not a human. So
it's not a human, right? There's not a situation where...
The only thing that could be bad about that is if you put your attachments to it and like it falls out. If you're driving a pickup truck and it cracks and it falls out of the truck and it disintegrates, then you put your faith in a symbol, that's the same thing as if a person disappointed you.
Yeah, and I feel like that's the same as like, rosary beads or like today it was really interesting. I saw a guy driving like a maniac on a motorcycle in front of me, and he and his buddy were both at the stop sign, and then the light turned green, and they both like hauled around this corner. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, that guy's going to skid out in front of me, and I'm just going to back off in case he falls down. Yeah. And then they come to the next stoplight, and they're getting ready to make a right onto the main Pacific Coast Highway to take like the beach route.
Okay.
And the one guy, one of the guys takes off first, and then the second guy that made me nervous, he crosses himself. He does like the cross to protect himself.
Oh wow.
And then puts his hands back on the handlebars and just cruises off to the right. And I thought, wow, I've never seen anybody do that before. And it's like, hey, shield me. Now I'm going to go I might act like an idiot. I might take my life into my hands. I might keep driving in a way that's a little sketchy. So just shield me, like protect me. And I thought, wow, if he falls and he either kills himself or he gets, turns into a paraplegic or a quadriplegic or something today, his symbol didn't protect him, right? And so he'd be like, well, where is God? Where's my faith in this protection mechanism that I just put around me? So it's like, well, sure. I mean, maybe that still means God is with you and God has a bigger plan for you. And the lesson that will come through this, what could be tragedy, is part of your path, and that's fine. But that's where I think a lot of people, and myself too, you go wrong with blaming God because you're like, I did this to keep myself from this, and then it happened. And now it's like, so whether it's a symbol or whether it's a false sense of security in something like a ritual that we do, I think there's like a time and a place to do them and to trust in them, but not to be super, like you said, attached to the outcome of anything, because...
Yeah, it's weird.
It's strange, isn't it?
Because think about, when you do that and then you go engage, it's sort of like when people pray over food that's really unhealthy for them. And it's kind of a weird kind of idea because you're thinking, okay, you have this food here that's many would argue is very damaging to your health, yet you pray over it. And then you engage in an act that's going to cause you to have the opposite effect of what you just prayed for. Right. It's like, oh, God, help this food, be healthy to my body. And then you eat it, and you're eating like genetically modified corn, and you're eating,
high fructose corn. Oh, I guess that's,
all that same stuff thing. That's so bad for you. And the same way, I guess it's like, doing that little, cross
signing
before you speed off in your motorbike. It's kind of a weird contradiction that we do these things. It's weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I guess too, it's so challenging because what I'm trying to look at is like when I interact in the world, I'm trying to look at things more in how they are and not in what my judgment about the thing is. Because when you see someone do a cross over their chest or whatever, you automatically know what that means.
Right. Even though I'm not Catholic, but I know what it means.
Yeah, but if we were aliens from another planet and we saw someone do that, we would not have any idea what that means, right? But most people around the world knows what that means because I think
pretty
half
universal,
the world's Catholic. Right. So for me, it's like I'm looking at like, okay, he's just moving his finger from his chin to maybe the middle of his chest and then to his left shoulder and to his right shoulder, and that's all that is. Because otherwise, if you start labeling and start creating stories around stuff, then you start getting in all this weird judgment. Because you think, oh, what an idiot that he...
Yeah, I know, I know.
That he's like endangering other people's life by speeding off on a motorbike when he did some sort of Catholic cross thing, and then you start judging him for all that. But then if you didn't know what that meant, it would be much, much more helpful to you. You know what I mean?
Interesting.
So... kind of looking at things in a way that like an animal would look at it, where
you're just
observing,
and you don't understand.
Yeah. That'd be hard.
I keep thinking about What About Bob? Did you ever see that movie? So was it What About Bob? I'm having
flashbacks.
I believe it's What About Bob. I'm totally blanking. I think that's the movie where he's a what do you call it, obsessive compulsive? Isn't that the one?
Is that with Jack Nicholson?
No, but I feel like there's a movie with him like that too, isn't there?
Yeah, there was. I forget what
Bill
that was.
Murray was What About Bob?
Okay.
But anyway, he's like, checking things 1,000 times and has these rituals he goes through before he leaves the house, and he has to count certain things, and I haven't seen it in years, and like do things a certain way, and just really obsessive about, these rituals, or bad things will happen, or his mind just doesn't work his mind works perfect like an obsessive compulsive mind does. Because I used to struggle with a lot of that when I was more of a little kid.
Obsessive compulsive?
Yeah. I'd count things, or I'd have to do these rituals that I made in my head of like a certain amount of times you have to do something, wash your hands, or count these poles, or not miss counting one of those little things on the side of the freeway. Like,
what things?
I don't know, just like the little tags, or the things if like on a cone. Like anything that you'd see as a pattern, or a fence, like you'd be in the country and you'd be like, okay, I have to count all these, and it's like you don't follow through. I never followed through with the or. Like, what's going to happen if I don't count these,
How long ago has it, or how long has it been since you've done that? Quite a while?
Oh, yeah, like...
Years?
Years. Oh, yeah, probably since high school or something.
Really?
Junior high was, I think, the weirdest time looking back, as far as those things were running rampant more, and I think it's because you're changing, a lot of anxieties surface, your hormones are raging, like... But it's funny that I think I'll always have those tendencies. Because even like 4 years ago, I think we joined your parents once at their Christmas Eve service at their church. Uh-huh. And behind them, there was like these stained glass panes. And there was these like cross-looking things between them. There were these beams holding it into place. And I remember just counting these beams. Like, I was I was like, okay, do I need to end up on an odd or an even number if I count backward?
Really?
So I was like, oh my gosh. And then I snapped myself out of it. It's because I'm aware now. And I thought, this is crazy. Like, but my mind tends to gravitate toward that behavior.
But maybe it's a behavior that you display when you're just bored too.
Yeah, probably.
So when you were a kid, you never thought, what if I don't do that? Like you felt like you had to? I felt like
I had to. And I've read over the years that is a very obsessive compulsive personality thing, that if you don't do something a certain way, or end on a certain number, or take this amount of steps, or step on a crack, like there's all these strange things that you honestly in your subconscious think something bad or interesting is going to happen if you don't do it. But I never asked myself. I don't think a lot of people follow through with the what
or why.
What's going to happen? What am I afraid of happening? Yeah. What does that mean? I mean, is it like the whole when you're little, what is that poem? Like, step on a crack, break your mom's back, or you used to try not to step on the cracks. And so we'd play this game walking to school where we'd, the sidewalk, they're big panels of concrete and there's cracks between them all. Yeah. And it's like, you do this little poem about like, it was like very interesting looking back, thinking, wow, we didn't want to step on the cracks when you don't want your mom's back to break, or when you pass the mortuary, you hold your breath because you don't want to breathe in the death and the...
Oh, really?
Yeah. Have you ever done that one?
No.
Yeah. So you hurry past. If you're riding a bike or you run past it, you don't want to take a breath. It's all these weird superstitions as kids. And it's funny now, though. It is funny to ask yourself the root of those. Yeah. What was I afraid of happening? I guess, if you're completely honest with yourself, it's just losing control over everything. Being out of control. If something bad happened, it's because you didn't count to that number, and talk about self-blame.
That's a good way to do it.
It's a great way to justify it, or a great way to, make an excuse for bad things that might happen. It's because you brought it on and you're still in control, even if it's bad.
Right.
You were the one that was in control of it.
You didn't do X, Y, Z like you're supposed to.
Our minds are so crazy.
It's so interesting. Humans are so bizarre.
So complex.
I'm reading that book and it's just, wow, we're so complex.
The Fifth Agreement?
Yeah. A while ago, I was listening to an interview with Conor McGregor, the UFC fighter, and he was talking about just this. And he was talking about how many athletes will go through a ritualistic pre-fight thing. So their training camp is all the same, exactly the same, or when they wake up the morning of the fight, they drink X amount of glasses of water and they do X, Y, Z, and it's the same every time. And I know with basketball players, it's that way.
They wear their lucky socks and stuff?
Yeah, they wear their lucky socks, and if they don't... And Conor McGregor was asked, hey, do you do any of these things? Because you're just doing so well, you're beating everybody. And he was like, that rituals are a sign of weakness. Because if you have to do these things in order to have a certain result, it means that you didn't train hard enough. And if you don't train hard enough, then you're going to lose whether you do the rituals or not. So if you don't train, then you need to do the rituals, and it's a sign of weakness. If this guy's like going through all these weird, bizarre patterns before every, it's one thing to like visualize an outcome like many athletes do. I was telling you, Phil Jackson did this with the Lakers, visualizing the last few minutes of the game and all of that. Or it's different also going through the motions, the physical motions of like shooting a free throw, where it becomes, just automatic. Like the muscle memory is just a groove pattern that's in you. But to have these weird rituals that you wear your lucky socks and this kind of stuff, to me, that makes a lot of sense. It's a sign of weakness. Like you didn't work hard enough, so you got to wear these lucky socks. You know what I mean?
And hope to God. There you go. If you lose that game, your lucky socks let you down, then there's your faith in a symbol that you were attached to the outcome.
Yeah, exactly. And you can put all your faith in these symbols, and eventually the symbols are going to not work one day, and then your whole world's going to come crashing down. You're going to have to figure out some new symbols.
Change your philosophy.
I know, change your philosophy.
Yeah, you'll have to rise up to the reality quote of your being. Do you do any rituals? Like, I wonder if, like, do you have any rituals that you do every day still? I'm trying to think.
Certain habits are good.
Certain habits are good. But again, not being married to if you cannot do that ritual that day.
Yeah.
I went through a time period where I didn't want to miss one day of doing a coffee enema, or I didn't want to miss one day of doing the sauna. These are all things that are really good for you. But some days, you're like, I don't have time. I'm too hot. I don't feel well,
and being in touch with your body in the moment, right?
Right.
Isn't that?
I really let go of that because, and here's another really funny one. And I'm writing about this in my book actually, but, the wedding ring wearing, it's a symbol.
Oh, right. See, that's a good one.
Yeah, it's a symbol. And I always thought, I remember being, young and idealistic like most of us are. But always dreaming, being a teenager going, oh, when I get married, it'd be so romantic. Not to...
I love girls who think like that.
I know we do. We dream about this stuff. But it's so romantic not to get married and be one of those people who's married for 70 years and never take off my ring, and they're going to have to... pull it off my cold dead hand when I'm going into the grave, kind of thing. And that I was known for, having this commitment, and this ring was just associated with mom and grandma and all these people you'd become in your life, wife. And, I think I know I read an article, but I think I'd read many articles throughout the years of these couples that they would, showcase in a local paper about being married for 80 years and they were like 100. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And they would that passed down their rings after they passed away to one of their kids, or they talk about how important it was, or how they had never taken off their ring. And I'm thinking, my mom and dad they're big ring wearers.
Are they?
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen them without their rings on, ever. So,
wow.
When my dad needed surgery for a hernia, and he had knee surgery and hernia surgery within the past 15 years or something.
Uh-huh.
And I remember going to the surgery center, and they were getting him all prepped, and they asked him to take off his ring, and he gave it to my mom, and I remember it was really emotional for them and stuff. And I thought, wow, this is strange to see my dad have to take off that ring, because I've never really seen him without it. It's kind of like his mustache. I've never seen him without his mustache.
Yeah.
Nobody has that knows him, my mom and anybody. But yeah, it was strange to me, because I thought, wow, what if you made it to 35 years of marriage and you never take off this ring, and then you get hit by a truck, you're in the hospital, they make you take off your ring for you, you're asleep, you're in a coma.
You have to do it.
You wake up. I think that's probably going to be your last disappointment. You're going to be glad you're alive. Sure, you might be disappointed when you come to and you realize that wasn't something you wanted, that was even out of your will for yourself,
right.
And it was done to you to save your life or to whatever. And that's another thing where I'm like, gosh, it's like going to school from kindergarten to college. You didn't miss one day of school.
Oh, I had a funny one I'll share with you in just a second.
Okay.
Yeah.
But those kinds of things, I realize I'm writing about them because I go, gosh, this attachment to ideals, you have to ask why they matter so much to you. Is it to be at your funeral when you're 90 for someone to stand up there and say, this woman was a great, honorable, loyal wife. She never took off her ring. Who the heck cares? why are we doing these things we're doing?
Well, that's like applying personality traits to an action it has nothing to do with the personality traits, because just because you wear a ring for 40 years doesn't mean you're loyal and all that. Like, she could have been cheating. So
right.
it's not like the association is incorrect, you know?
Totally. And you know what's funny is I don't wear mine I don't have it on right now. I don't wear it all the time because I don't like having something on I like being free.
Yeah, I don't wear mine ever.
Yeah, you wear yours sometimes when you go out, and that's it.
I'll wear it, when I go out.
I'm not bothered by that, you know? So it's like we don't care about stuff like that.
Yeah.
I like the way that my hand looks, and I like the reminder of it, and I'll wear it usually, but I went and cut a friend of mine's hair at his house a couple weeks ago. And it was so funny because the day before I was over there, I was on the beach trail walking with my friend, and I ran into him and his wife and said hey and said hi to their kids and stuff. And then the next day I go over there, and he asked me, he said that, oh, you know, my wife, you know, and he mentioned her name. He said, she realized you weren't wearing your ring on the trail. And he's basically like, she wondered if everything's okay. Like, she wondered if I'm okay. I'm
with
like,
your marriage, you mean?
I guess, yeah. And I'm like, well, why wouldn't I be okay? And he's like, well, I don't know. Like, and I go, I don't wear it half the time. I go, that just isn't something that Justin and I really, you know, like, we're solid in who we are. And a ring doesn't mean anything to us, you know, other than we like them. They're cool because we have designs that we like, you know? And he was like, oh, that wouldn't fly with her. Like, she basically would, you could tell his eyes were just like longing for the freedom that I had, because it was like something that she's very insecure about, and very like, for her to notice on the beach trail for like a 1 minute exchange of, hi, how's it going?
Was I with you then or no?
No, my friend Robin.
But, right.
But it was just strange. And I thought, wow, that's a symbol to her that's misrepresented, because it doesn't mean because your husband doesn't take off his ring, he's not going to cheat on you.
Right.
He could be cheating on her left and right. And I don't think he is, but he could be.
Matter
and you can't rope him in because he wears a ring. If he wants to be with you, he chooses to be with you over and over and over and over. It's not like you get married one day and you wear a ring, and if that were the truth,
there'd be no
cheating or no divorce or no.
Yeah.
Isn't it funny though? What were you going to say? You had
Well, no, just one thought on that. It's just, it's interesting to me that we put these values on things like that. And I think, like you said, I think so many people lack control. And so because they lack control, they feel like that's the one thing they can control. Because you know, a wife like that can't control her husband, like, or vice versa. Like, I can't make you be with me, but if I get mad at you for not wearing a wedding ring, I can make you do that. You know?
Right.
And so that makes me feel better because I see the ring on your finger, and I think you're wearing it because you love me. But the only reason why you're wearing it is because if you're
afraid of the wrath.
Yeah, if you don't wear it, I'm gonna be all over you.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so people realize that, but I think they lie to themselves, and they say, "Oh, my wife or husband has the ring on. Oh, they must
love me."
It's a symbol of his love for me. When in actuality, a symbol of love has nothing to do with whether or not there's a piece of metal that's shaped as a circle that goes over a certain finger. I mean, that makes no sense, right? So there again, there's the faith in symbols. It means nothing, because how many men or women have cheated on their wives or husbands while wearing a wedding ring?
Exactly.
I'm sure millions.
Right.
And so it means nothing, you know. Right. But I was going to say, the funniest thing was my goal going into high school was to not wear pants for all 4 years, and I did it. I never wore pants.
You wore something, right?
Just shorts.
Okay. Yeah. Your goal was to be naked every day during high school.
I wore Speedo and a bow tie and
socks.
Some penny loafers with no socks.
That's a picture. Oh, my.
Yeah. I don't know why. Because I wore shorts for, I think, a couple days in junior high. I wore pants because it was cold. And I thought, oh, wow, I've only worn pants 2 days. And so then I thought, I bet I can go all 4 years without wearing pants. And I did.
So you wore shorts for every school day all during high school?
Yeah. But, why? What's the deal with that, you know?
I don't know. That's
bizarre.
Funny.
Yeah.
That's something you set up for yourself. That's the complexity of the human nature right there. Like,
why do we do these things?
That is hilarious, but you succeeded.
But then again, I think it comes down to control, because we can't control whether or not we go to school. We can't control what time we go to school. We can't control our grades for the most part.
Right.
Anything you can grasp on that gives you a little bit of control is something that you're just all over as someone who's young, or someone who lacks control in a marriage or any time in life. Like, you want to control what you can.
Right.
And in reality, if you lose your attachment to your husband or wife, and if they choose to leave you, if you're confident in yourself and you love yourself and you realize that good things can come still after that you don't need anyone else to make you happy, then you lose the attachment, and with the attachment, you lose the control, and then you stop trying to control the person. Then that other person feels a little bit of, breath. They can breathe a little bit.
Right.
Relief. And then they can step back from their situation with you and look at you more objectively, and that most likely they'll love you more. And the more they love you, the more you're going to give away more of control. So it becomes this like awesome cycle.
Right.
But people don't realize what they're doing. It's weird.
That's heavy.
Yeah. It's weird, huh?
Yeah. And I want to be I want to say, like, I'm the first person to love symbolism and ritual. And I'm not saying I don't love these things. I think there's an immense value in a lot of them. I just think it comes back to the intention behind it, and
I was thinking about
the non-attachment to the outcome of if it lets you down, or if you lose it, or
just having an awareness of what the symbol means and not attaching yourself to it. Mm-hmm. Because so many times people have these weird attachments to physical objects. Mm-hmm. This is my family heirloom, whatever it is, and it's my mom's, and it's been in our family for 4 generations, and
right.
It means something to me. But in actuality, it's just a cluster of molecules that are formed as some stone object or some crystal object that
we're observing as that. Who knows if it really even is? It's just taking on something because we've looked upon it. It's
and we
taking
don't
on
really,
a shape.
Really was like has it been? If it's been in your family for 4 generations and you think it means so much, well, what was it doing? Was it sitting in a box for 3 of those generations of people that they didn't really care about, and they just pass it on? But you put all this meaning into it.
Well, that cracks me up. It reminds me of Gilmore Girls, my favorite show in the world. Mm-hmm. And there's a scene where the Asian girl who I love, Lane, it's the main character, one of her best friends, and she grows up in this really strict Korean Seventh-day Adventist home. Mm-hmm. And apparently for years, her mom told her not to touch this jug in the kitchen and called it her special marriage jug, and told her that, she had to treat it with utmost respect. It was this marriage jug. And then, like, when this character is a teenager, or in her 20s, I forget, she's probably a teenager, her mom says, "Hey, wrap that up in bubble wrap and send that to your boyfriend. I think he'd like it." And she's like, "I can't do that." And the mom's like, "Why not?" And she goes, "Because that's my special marriage jug. I'm not planning on marrying this guy. I'm just dating him, it might freak him out."
Right.
And her mom's like, "What are you talking about, your marriage jug?" And she explains when she was little, that stuck with her, that her mom told her that was her special marriage jug. And her mom's like, "Oh, that piece of junk? Like, I just told you that probably to keep you from breaking it or touching it."
Yeah, yeah.
And isn't it funny that all those years she thought it was this really special thing, and then to have her like hopes dashed.
Yeah.
It's just funny, those kinds of things that...
Yeah, we create these weird stories.
Stories.
Isn't that weird?
You know what was really weird in the last week? And I was telling Robin this, is she came over the other night and we were having an awesome chat. And I said, never have I heard this once in my life, let alone twice now in a week, is one in the book Wild that I keep talking about because I love it. I'm probably late to join what everybody else has known for a few years about how great this book is, Mm-hmm. But in the book, the author, Cheryl, Cheryl Strayed, that's the best name.
Strayed.
She has a part of the book where she's spreading her mom's ashes on the headstone that they had made for her. And her mom's big thing about, when she was passing away, when she was dying, she's told all 3 of her kids, "I'll always be with you." And so they had that engraved on her headstone, that "I'll always be with you." And so they go out, the siblings, and they're spreading these ashes and on this field and stuff under her headstone. And she said that she explained the ashes, because I've never actually seen human remains ashes.
Ashes, yeah.
She said she expected them in the book to look like soot ashes from a fireplace, and instead they're kind of clumpy. There's chunks of little bones.
Oh, really?
It's really interesting. She said it's indescribable what it looks like. And when I was telling Robin about this scene from the book, she said, yeah, she saw her dad's ashes, and they do look like that. There's chunks of things in there, and So in the book, she spreads a ton of them, and she can't let go of this last clump of them. And she says she just instinctively just puts them in her mouth and swallows them. She wanted her mom to be in her forever. And it was like this. She had to absorb her mom's bones like into her body. Wow. So that really hit me. That was really, really heavy. And then about 2 days later, I'm reading The Native Spirit by Denise Lynn, and she's talking about finding her spirit name. And she goes out into this forest, and this owl lands. Of course, it's an owl, which spoke to me too, because here I am with this owl thing. This owl landed a couple feet from her and stared at her, and they had this moment, and she's looking at this beautiful white owl, and she said then it takes off, and its giant wings like rise above, and it leaves. But it leaves behind these 3 little white, downy, soft little feathers, almost like a baby bird. Oh, wow. And she goes and picks them up, and she put them into her mouth and swallowed them. And it was one of these things where she got this hit that it said, put these 3 feathers into your medicine bag. And she goes, but I don't have my medicine bag on me. She's thinking it's back. It's not with me in this forest. I don't know what to do. And then this voice spirit said to her, you are the medicine bag. And so she put them into her mouth, and she swallowed them. And she writes, I would not recommend that because it's not sanitary. She didn't think about it at the time because it was something she just did. Yeah. And so they're also really hard to swallow. Can you imagine? Swallowing feathers? That sounds like the worst idea ever.
Does not sound good.
But I thought, what is this in a week? About people swallowing these things that are like, they want it so bad to penetrate into their essence that they have to have it within themselves. And so this is really, really weird. I told this story to Robin, and we're talking about it and the power of it. And then we get together again the next day. And, this is really strange. I go to work the next day, and a girl, my friend there at work, returned from Thailand last week, and she brought everybody something. She brought most people bracelets or little wallets or whatever. She hands me this little cup. It's like big, maybe the size of 2 shot glasses, and it's made out of a piece of bamboo. And she said her friend and her were traveling around, and this man had these giant bamboo plants, and he asked if they wanted some coffee in them, and they said sure. And so he hacked down this bamboo, cut it and carved it, and it looks beautiful, and then poured their coffee into it and served it to him. And so she gave me one, and she's like, I don't know why, but I don't know if you'll like this, but I feel like I want to give it to you. Yeah. And I said, well, what's it for? And she explained the story, but she's laughing and said, you could use it as a shot glass or a vase or, whatever you want to do with it. And so I thought that was really interesting, and I thought immediately, this needs to go on my altar. This needs to be something sacred. It's like I need a sacred drink ritual or something like this. So I had that thought. That night, Robin comes over while you were, I think, watching a game with your dad or something. And we're talking about this, putting the feathers and the bones into these people's bodies. And Robin thought that was powerful. And so she tells me, you know what I started doing? I started doing this morning sacred communion by myself. She goes, I read my books, I read my Bible, I spend my time journaling. And she's like, I've decided to take this thing that the church, in her mind, in her experience, has kind of mangled and made into this robotic, we hold your bread and your cup until everyone is served, and we all do it together, and it's the symbol. Right, again, it's a ritual that we all do, but it's, for a lot of people, lost its meaning. Some people, it's very meaningful. I'm not belittling that at all. But to her, it was like she doesn't really belong to a church right now. She desired this communion with God. And so in the mornings, she'll have her little thimbleful of wine and her little wafer or bread, whatever. She said it doesn't matter what it is. It's the symbol of the blood and the body of Christ. And she just feels really spiritually connected that way. Right. And so I said, well, what do you put your wine in? Is like a little goblet or something? And she goes, oh, it's this etched piece of glass vase someone gave me or something. She goes, it doesn't matter what it's in. But I said, and before I could get out of my mouth, she goes, well, and I said, I feel really drawn to that. She goes, maybe that's what your bamboo cup is for. I just thought of you. And I thought, if this is something you want to take into your spiritual practice on your own, maybe that's what the cup was for. Nobody else got a cup at work, Yeah,
that's kind of bizarre.
So I thought it was really cool. But we talked the next half hour about the sacredness of communion. It's the same idea as the putting of the feathers and the chewing of the bone and assimilating these things into our bodies. And I forget the power of that ritual until she and I were talking about that's what we strive for in life. That's what these sacred acts are. They're between you and your spirit and God and whatever you want to make that. But I thought, wow, that's a way to take something I already have been drawn to in the past and truly turn it into something that I want to be my own in a new way.
Yeah, that's awesome. I remember in that book I was reading, The Seed of the Soul, it was he was talking about creating a sacredness. Like every moment is a sacred moment, you know, and every interaction with someone else is a sacred moment. And you can choose to create sacred moments. And I think that's pretty cool, is to be able to have a morning ritual like that where you do something. It doesn't have to be, it could be anything you think is cool.
Yeah.
And you could go through a thing like that. And I think that's where the real healing and reconnection with God is getting that vertical connection through some sort of physical practice, whether it's, some people do yoga or
aligning their chakras in meditation or getting on their knees and praying. It's all this.
Right. This like a centered or a vertical kind of thing.
That's the word, right?
And I think we've lost that. We're so busy, and we don't take time out of our daily life to cultivate a spiritual awareness and a spiritual practice. And then because, you know, when we start doing stuff like that, it allows us to go out into our daily life and to reconnect that bridge, like the Tower of Babel or whatever, and reconnect that vertical connection to God, where, you know, you don't have to go like in a hike through the forest for God to speak with you. You can have that. It can come to you as a hit while you're sitting in traffic. Right. But if you don't take the time out to create a sacred ritual practice where you go through a physical thing where you sit and meditate or whatever you do, you know, we lose the ability to be able to have the awareness of what certain events in our life mean, and to be able to
gather these things up in your heart and your soul.
And create your own power. You know, we lose the ability to do that because we don't understand why things are happening to us, you know. And so having a time where you do something like that every day, I really think that's where the healing is. I really do. You know? And I mean, I go through times where I do it and I don't do it. When I don't do it, I definitely feel it. I definitely feel more agitated, a little bit more on edge, a little bit more stressed out. Are we going to make it this month, or we're going to be able to pay all of our bills this month? But then the more I do it, the more I connect, and it just feels less stressful, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool.
It puts everything in a different perspective, and I think in a proper perspective.
Yeah.
Like, this stuff, I love reading the Native Spirit book because she talks so much about being out in tribal cultures and things, and it's just funny when you think that that's going on right now.
So different.
You know, it's so different.
Such a different way of life, right?
And they're not worried about getting speeding tickets or paying their health insurance.
I know, right?
They're out there as a tribe. Sure, they have some problems within the tribe, and you know, I'm sure they have
fight against other tribes and all that.
Fight against other tribe, or you don't know where your food's going to come from. But somehow it's like they're taken out of. It's so ridiculous what we worry about.
Oh,
it's stuff that shouldn't even exist. It does, but it shouldn't exist as our reality. And yet, this is like, it's hard enough to connect with the spiritual when you're aware and you're a spiritually connected person in modern day Western times and places. But I thought, gosh darn it, like the stuff that we waste our time worrying about. If I lived in the middle of a tribe right now, would I be worrying about these same things? No, they completely be a different set of concerns.
Right.
And that's concerning to me, really.
Right.
Because basically, if I can get into that frame of mind and that connection without having to go live in a tribe, to realize I can let it all go and it doesn't matter, that's a perfect thing to strive for, in my opinion. Because
where are all of your needs met, you know?
Right.
And our needs are pretty simple. Yet we obsess and worry about certain things, you know, that are just bizarre.
Right.
You know, and it's just so...
It's all we worry about. I mean, all I worry about basically is my bills paying. It's always money about something, or money to get something to help my health, or my spirit feel comfortable.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's bizarre. You want to read a couple emails?
Sure.
Okay, really quickly before we get to the emails that I want to get to, got some good ones here today. I want to tell you about a couple really cool products that we just absolutely love here at Extreme Health Radio. And if you've been listening for some time, you probably know all about these. But one is the Relax Far Infrared Sauna. That is probably one of my favorite, and yours too, Kate. One of our favorite products here that we absolutely love this thing. We sit in it about 30 minutes a day, and it's very, very low EMF, and it's a far infrared heat which penetrates deep into the bones and causes a really, really great detoxification pathway to happen, where it actually allows you to detoxify the chemicals and the toxins that are stored in your fat cells. And it increases heat shock proteins, which in turn increases your immune system by up to 40%. And it's really great. I just love sitting in it because it just allows me to sort of get away and to watch a documentary and to be by myself. It's very relaxing, and you just sweat like crazy in it, and you don't have to knock out a wall. It's portable. You can let your friends borrow it. They can bring it back, and all you do is you just kind of wipe it down every time and clean it once a month, and the thing's incredible. On our sauna page, if you guys are interested in this really great detoxification tool, you can go to our sauna page, and if you go on there, you're going to see, you're going to be able to listen to an interview that we did with Phil Wilson. There's also a little video at the top of the page you can watch and learn more about what this tool can do for you. And there's a great little speech by Dr. Brian Clement, and one of my favorites by Dr. Rhonda Patrick. And she talks about, there's like a 40% all-cause mortality decline in people that do regular sauna use. I mean, it's so powerful, and it's such an amazing health tool that we have access to today. And what I love about it is that for just around $1,000, you're going to be able to bring this technology into your home and have it be a part of your life. And I'm so glad. I've been doing it every day for about 3 years. I probably average about 5 to 6 times a week. I sit in this sauna, and it's just, I love it. It's one of my favorite health rituals that I do on a regular basis. We also have a commercial on there. You can read more about it. Picture with us and Phil Wilson, who's the creator of it. And Phil's also done a video, and there's some really great stuff on here. It helps cleanse the skin, improves sleep, prevents illness, energizes you, improves blood circulation, and it promotes cellular renewal. It's just awesome, and I'm just happy that I've been doing it for the last couple of years. So if you guys are interested in this, you can get this on our show page here, which is extremehealthradio.com/427. And also, before we get to this email here, I want to tell you about the Satori Method Good Morning, Good Evening Qigong, and that is a course you can download, and it's got some really, really high quality, professionally made videos by Tristan Truscott and Peter Ragnar, who are just really into this longevity thing. And it's a thing that I do every day. You do 10 minutes in the morning and 10 minutes in the evening, and you learn how to redirect your energy, how to protect your energy, how to build your energy, how to store your energy, how to not leak your energy. And it really gets into the lower dantian, they call it, and it allows you to ground your energy so that you feel more grounded and you feel just more connected to the earth and your mission and your path. And there's a reason why it's been around for a couple thousand years in China and in the East, because Qigong is a powerful thing. It's a very, very powerful thing. So if you guys are interested in the Qigong course, I'd highly recommend it. As you guys know, and as we talk about a lot on the show, our entire healing modality, the physical aspect of our healing and our health, not just our healing and in terms of eliminating disease or preventing disease, but healing on an emotional level and healing on an energetic level. I think the physical has to come after the emotional spiritual. And when you start doing deep meditative work on spiritual emotional levels, which is what Qigong is, it's a moving meditation. So you really kind of envision the light energy flowing through your body through a meditative physical movement practice that takes only 10 minutes in the morning and 10 minutes in the evening. It's my contention that that's where the healing happens, at those deeper levels. And the Qigong is a way to do that. So as someone who, I'm a big fan of, working out hard and working out in the gym and surfing and hiking and that kind of stuff, Qigong is just an essential, I think, as is yoga and walking, swimming, and these types of things. Qigong is just right up there. So if you guys are interested in the Qigong course, go to extremehealthradio.com/427. All right, let me see about these emails. Let me see these emails here. Which one do I want to read? Let's see. Okay. Salvatore. Yeah, I like this one. I listen to you guys often, mostly because I'm always searching for health info. I often disagree, but you said, quote, lose your power by reminisce about what doesn't exist anymore. What does that mean?
Reminiscing, maybe?
Reminiscing?
Okay.
In all caps, thanks, my brother. That hit my very soul. I stopped everything I was doing to listen again, drink it in. Then I wanted to thank you.
Wow.
That's pretty cool.
So reminiscing, what was the quote?
The quote was, lose your power by reminiscing about what doesn't exist anymore. I don't remember that. That was in reference to episode 426 where we talked about, that was actually our last show, psychedelics, past lives, and stuff like that.
Reminiscing about what? So
I don't know.
You must have said something about, losing your power when you're reminiscing on the past because the past is no longer kind of thing.
Oh, right. Yeah, that could have been
the past doesn't, that sounds like it would have been it.
Sometimes we have no idea where the show's going to go.
No, or what we even said.
What we talked about. Okay, that's pretty cool.
That's great.
Yeah, Yvonne says, great show. Interesting what you said about the relaxed flowing clothes. Oh, I think I read this to you before. Relaxed flowing clothes worn by spiritual leaders. I think it's true. The more spiritually conscious you are, the more in touch you are with your body and how clothing restricts you.
Because we were talking, I think that was our last episode as well. We were talking about, seems how spiritual leaders are always wearing robes and loose fitting things. Like everyone from Jesus to Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Right.
Look
at that. Look at that. That was good.
Got to put a Star Wars reference whenever you can.
Yeah, not Jesus, Buddha, or Muhammad. It was Jesus and Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Come on, Obi's where it's at.
If there's ever someone to compare Obi-Wan Kenobi to, it's Jesus.
Well, I think so.
Obviously.
Hello.
Let's see. Spiritually conscious you're more in touch with your body and how clothing restricts you. Your spirit and aura, synthetic materials will do this. By the way, perhaps you could do a show on astrology. It is connected to psychic awareness and Ayurveda, and it makes so much sense. By the way, Justin, being a Sagittarius means you're an adventure archetype.
Amen.
I know, right?
Right on. She nailed you.
That's for sure.
Okay.
Adventure archetype, into philosophy, different religions, travel.
That's so you.
I know, totally. I almost majored in religion. Remember that?
I do remember that.
In college?
Should have majored in travel.
And I wanted to major in... I know.
Sitting on the island of Capri.
Dude.
Okay.
I wanted to major in religion and minor in philosophy.
I could see. Well, you kind of have. You stumbled into this anyway.
I don't need a degree for that. And the reason why I didn't do it, by the way, is because if I knew that if I did that, it would make it so boring to me because I had to do it.
Wow.
And if I was forced to do something, I'm always just rebel against people trying to get me to do stuff.
And you want to love it.
Yeah,
because you do. You're so fascinated about this stuff.
Yeah. Makes sense then that you'll be focusing on these subjects and conspiracies in upcoming shows. So she's making reference to a new podcast that I'm going to be starting here pretty soon. What? On matters other than health. And we're going to be talking about basically anything that interests me.
That's what you should call it. The Matters Other Than Health podcast.
Yeah, because that's catchy.
Yeah, and easy to remember.
Yeah. Kate, I think you're a Virgo. Is that correct?
That is correct.
You're a Virgo?
Mm-hmm.
The healer archetype, Earth Mother, and I think that makes sense too. All the best with your studio plans.
Earth Mother, I love it.
Virgo.
I keep getting this whole Earth connection.
Do you?
Yeah, with symbols and totems and animals. It's interesting.
I like that. Earth Mother.
Earth Mother, I'll take that.
Earth Mama.
Earth Mama. Thanks, Yvonne.
This other one comes in. Sandia Ramaswamy is indeed the coolest name.
Yes.
I want to say it over and over. Sing it. Make a song out of it. Laughing out loud.
Who writes this?
I don't have the name here.
Oh, this is great.
I just want to say I love your show. I listen often. Thank you for the abundance of great information on my top concerns of health and spirituality, and your always positive energy. Lots of love for you, Justin and Kate.
That cracks me up. You do want to sing her name. Sandia Ramaswamy.
Well, let's let listeners send in their examples of their songs.
Okay, if they do, can we actually put them? Can we play them on the air? Okay, guys, send them in. Send them in.
That'd be funny. All right, Ken writes in, "Hello, Kate and Justin. Tears in my eyes as I write you this email. I don't know where to start, but in my own short words, I'm very glad that I came across you online. It sounds like they're from another country, so their English is a little bit lacking, skewed. I guess. I'm so glad I came across you online. In fact, I can say this is the coolest thing I've ever come across on the internet." Wow.
Well, man.
Well, that says a lot because the internet, turns out there's a lot of stuff on the internet.
Wow.
A lot of cool stuff. So thank you. I wish I had money to bring you guys down to my country to hold seminars and conferences, at least to let people know that there is hope. I said this because in my country, it is not everyone that has access to the internet, and everyday people are dying of this disease, and there is nothing anyone can do about it. Oh, this person, Ken, writes in from my newsletter. And I was talking about
the truth about cancer.
Truth about cancer.
Yeah.
And there is nothing anyone can do about it. It will be very hard, even if you tell a cancer patient in my country to get this essential oils, because they can't even get it to buy. I'm touched, but to be sincere, I don't have the means to introduce this to my country as a whole, because it's a pity to see people in hopeless situations which can still be corrected, but they die ignorantly. All I can say now is, may God be with you, provide for you, and protect you from every attack. I hope one day I will boldly have the means to invite you guys to my country and see what we can do to save the situation. I love you guys so much. I wish you all the best of life. You are lifesavers. Therefore, you shall be provided with long life and prosperity." Wow. Ken, that's cool.
I read that one the other day when it came in, and I had tears in my eyes. That was very meaningful to me.
I know, right? Thank you, Ken.
Yeah, that one made me cry. Thank you.
I forgot where Ken lives. I want to say Costa Rica.
I don't know if I know where Ken lives.
Yeah, you see that a lot, right? People dying ignorantly, like she says, and
he or she. I'm not sure what Ken is.
Oh yeah, he or she. And I see that too, where it's challenging for people to. The biggest thing I think is really challenging is to have people you care about in your life, like our friends and family, that go through health situations. And how many times have we seen that, where they don't ask for your help?
Yeah.
And they don't know anything, and they're just taking a doctor's words and making those words gospel truth. That's hard, isn't it? You have a family member, a mom that just doesn't know any better, never asked your help,
right?
And they have some,
or when they have, and you tell them, they do it for a few days and then think it's not working, or they feel better, so they stop the health journey. Right. That's really hard.
Yeah, it's challenging.
It's challenging
because it's not our duty to change anybody. It's the hardest thing is, my parents are really open to alternative health and stuff like that. But if they weren't, and they wanted to go through, what is that client you have, like 60 surgeries?
Oh yeah, yeah,
something like that.
59 surgeries.
Is that right?
I think 58 or 59 now.
Yeah.
I mean, a client, I did her hair for years, and I think I was probably doing her hair for like 30 out of those. I mean, honestly, in 16 years. No, 30 of the surgeries, probably out of the 59 or whatever it's been. I probably was around for those, and seeing people, whether it's dying needlessly or just suffering,
Right.
Because they're not connected with a better source.
Yeah.
Of healing.
I know, it's
on all levels.
So if that were your mom or your dad or someone you really cared about, and they want to go through stuff, I guess you just got to let them go through stuff, right?
I guess.
Because we can't control anybody else.
I think where you and I could do better, though, or you're pretty good about it, where I could do better is being more bold in sharing. Because sometimes I'm very aware of... I don't want to annoy people with my opinion or my sharing. But so I think I undershare.
We've all seen those crazy people that just all they talk about is health, or all they talk about is
and they're
veganism.
Just out to or anything, people pounding down your door with religion or whatever that they're into. I don't want to be that person, especially in my family.
So you're hyper aware of that.
I'm hyper aware, and then I probably could be a little more open and spread a little more hope and shed more light on those conditions or situations, but I want to be really careful though to respect their journey as well, because if I were to be a little more bold in my opinions about vaccinations and things, I don't know if my sister would so much appreciate that as, we kind of got into it a month ago or so ago on our differing opinions, and she just never knew that she never knew I had an opinion about it, because I let her do whatever she was going to do with her own kids, because I mentioned once when she was pregnant that we had this set of films, of DVDs by Mary Tocco.
Right. If you guys want to hear a couple really great interviews, listen to Mary Tocco and her daughter, Renee Tocco, episode 4 and 34. We'll put links in the show notes. If you want to grab the show notes, it's extremehealthradio.com/427.
427.
Yeah.
For today. Right.
Yeah, for today's show.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So you told her about these things?
Yeah, and I remember her thinking, when you're pregnant with your first one, it's a whole new thing. I think you're open to a lot of information because it's all so new to you. But when she had the first one, decided to vaccinate, never watched the stuff. When the second one comes along, well, the first one looks like they survived. I don't think it's a problem, and so I think she just got really comfortable, and that's totally her choice, And I don't want to cause a dissension or a bad blood between my sister and I, so I just backed down and thought, well, she wasn't interested the first time, and
right.
I'm just I feel sad because they're my nieces, and I want them to be safe and live long and not have the same issues I'm struggling with, which I think stem from a lot of heavy metals and vaccinations as a kid. But, what can you do? But I should be a little bit more forthcoming in some of my opinions with my family. It's easier to sit behind a microphone and spew your opinions to people you don't know. But when it's people you know, it's just can be so awkward.
Yeah,
or heated.
It's a delicate balance between, I think, we'll wrap the show up here in just a minute, but I think it's a delicate balance between being on a soapbox and trying to get those people in your life to eat and to think like you do. And so there's that one side of the extreme. And then the other side of the extreme is, I think what we do a lot is we hide who we are a lot of times.
That's what I think we do.
And it's not necessarily because it's just strange, because it's easy to hide because they've created a version of us who they think we are. And so because we've grown out of that, we have areas of interest that don't interest them. And so it's very easy it's not necessarily hiding who we are, but it's easy to just not bring up the things that really interest you.
Right.
Because they're not interested in it. So you're not really hiding, you're just not talking about new interests.
Right.
And so
right, that's exactly.
But then it's kind of a problem on two ends, because on one end, you don't get to fully express who you are. And they don't really know who you are. But then two, they like your parents, for example, and my parents, they had us for a reason. And so maybe like where it talks about in the Bible, don't put a lamp under a light under a lampshade or something, and to fully express who you are. Like,
unless you're in the red light district. Totally kidding.
Good one. I like that. That's good. And then it's a sexy lamp.
Then you're not open for business if it's a hidden lamp. Sorry, God. Lightning. Okay.
But by suppressing who we are and suppressing our interests, it allows them to continue in their marginalized existence. And so it doesn't allow them to grow. So like, let's say, for example, God, let's say, either way you look at it, God allowed you to become who you are, or past lives you chose to come in, whatever. And if you're not fully yourself to your brother or sister, or to your parents or friends, then the reason why you're in their life is to stretch and to challenge them.
And their beliefs.
So if you don't fully express who you are, then you're not being a service to them, which is kind of bizarre too.
You're cutting them off from their journey.
A part of their journey.
Right.
Because you could be a conduit of some kind of like truth that happens for them, and awakening and all that. But by not being fully who you are, you prevent that from happening.
Interesting. Interesting.
But then too, that's a completely different thing than like trying to get all my friends and family to jump
on board with what you're
like natural cures for things when they want to take Sudafed and stuff.
Right.
So. So anyway.
Yeah. Interesting balance. Yeah. Maybe it goes back to the scales that my Lady Justice is missing in her right.
Gotta look into that.
Her left hand.
I like that. All right, everyone. So I think we're going to wrap up the show here. I hope you guys enjoyed it.
We know you enjoyed it, because gosh darn, that was a fun conversation.
It was fun.
I had fun. Thanks.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah. Check out The Truth About Cancer, guys, going on right now.
Yes, if you're listening to this anytime, actually, if you're listening to this at any time, you can always register for the if the summit's running right now, you can watch it. But if it's not running at the time that you're listening to this, you can still register, sign up, and you can watch the trailer, and you'll be notified when it comes back online. If you want to watch The Truth About Cancer or get your friends to watch it, we'll put a link in the show page here, extremehealthradio.com/427. So all you got to do is get the show notes. It's extremehealthradio.com/truthaboutcancer. You'll be able to check that out. I think that's where we're going to wrap it up, right?
Let's do it.
We're all done?
That was fun.
All right. Thank you, everybody. We appreciate it. If you would like to support our show, feel free to do that. You can bookmark our Amazon link. That's probably the best way to support us. Or share our shows on Facebook. That helps us a lot, too. And if you want to go and be bold and go even further, you want to support us on Patreon or PayPal, there'll be links for that, too, on the website. So go to extremehealthradio.com/427, and you'll see all the different ways to support us, and we appreciate that a lot.
And if you want to watch our lives kind of on the side, join us on Instagram. That's fun. Follow us on Instagram, Extreme Health Radio.
We put all our books on there and different stuff that we do every day.
Pictures of our adorable dog. She's the cutest in the whole world.
Who doesn't love their dog? All right, so thank you for listening. We appreciate it. Pass the show on to your friends if you think anyone would enjoy our little banter, our little show. And we love you guys. We'll catch you guys on the next episode.
Hey, everybody, this is Josie, Justin's mum. Don't tell him, but I know he would absolutely be really happy if you would sign up to his free weekly newsletter. And don't forget to share this with all your friends. This is the buzzing bumblebee signing off.
That's so good.
Oh my gosh.
No material on this blog is intended to suggest that you should not seek professional medical care. Always work with qualified medical professionals, even if you educate yourself in the field of live food, nutrition, and alternative medicine. I'm not a doctor, nor am I offering readers medical advice of any kind. None of the information offered here should be interpreted as a diagnosis of any disease, nor an attempt to treat or prevent any disease or condition. While information in this blog is discussed in the context of numerous conditions, it can be dangerous to take action based on any information in this blog or to start